And welcome back to the 2017 DeLand Sport Aviation Showcase. We're coming to you from the Showcase stage. It's a new feature this year. We're offering our vendors, exhibitors, sponsors to get their 15 minutes of fame, come up here on the Showcase stage and tell us all about their wares and all the good stuff. We're also giving away some great door prizes. We're going to be doing a drawing at the end of this one, at the end of this presentation. So please stop on by, put your name on the list, get a ticket, and be ready for the drawing that we're going to do at the end of this presentation. A viable and affordable aircraft, is that an oxymoron? We're fixing to find out from our friends talking to us about the Merlin personal sport aircraft. It's Supermarine, right? Supermarine? Aeromarine, I'm sorry, Aeromarine.
You can think it's Spitfire.
I don't have my cheat sheets in front of me, folks. That's a note for next year. We gotta have cheat sheets.
Absolutely.
Our friend Chip. Good morning, Gary. How you doing?
What's this Aeromarine?
I goofed. I
think it's
goofed.
Spitfire.
Yeah, I'm thinking Spitfire. And say I just got, you know.
You're a Spitfire.
I had something. Good morning, Gary. Gary Phillip, I'm not sure what you are. You're the grand poobah of the grounds here at the showcase, and otherwise known as Mr. Jana. Gary Phillip. Good morning, Gary. All right, Chip. I apologize. I got dragged away there. So, tell me all about the Merlin Sport aircraft.
First, we'll just start out with this oxymoron part because affordable aircraft are hard to envision. Not too many of them exist, and people think of them as often as tube and fabric or a light ultralight or something that they may not be interested in flying. But and that's what LSA was supposed to do, is bring an affordable aircraft back, and that's what I'm trying to do. But first, I'll go into a little bit of my background in a couple of seconds. Per decade. I started in 1980 with ultralights, and I was one of the first to put ultralights on floats. So the first one was electric start on floats, and this one is a twin-engine, two-seat ultralight, which doesn't exist now, but it was a lot of fun back then. And in the no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. That was a Tomcat. That's unique. It's a two-axis. Well, it wasn't amphibious, but did have wheels or floats, and survived. And in the 90s, I started to build what was called microlights, and still are the 450 kilogram class in Europe. Again, you can see a lot of floats in these pictures, because I like floats, and that was hard to do in Europe. And I raced in the Schneider Cup, which was in Italy, the Mini Piccola Schneider Cup, the reenactment of the 30s, where we were talking about Supermarine. And the hardest part about those races, and I won 3 of them, but the hardest part was actually getting there, flying those little float planes over the Alps. And in the 2000s, light sport came around, and I was in the Czech Republic with my microlight factory, and I morphed into light sport and created my own designs. The first actually approved LSA amphibious was the Mermaid, and petitioned the FAA to get the amphibious LSA approved, paving the way for a lot of other ones. And Sport Cruiser, Piper Sport, I think a lot of people know that aircraft. They created that one. And now we're moving on to the affordable part, because most people believe that light sport aircraft have just gotten way too expensive. And $175,000 for a two-seat airplane. They're nice airplanes, but the people who can afford them are generally loading them up with almost everything they can, with twin glass panels, a couple more GPSs, transponders, either ADS-B out, leather seats, coffee makers, whatnot. And they just get too heavy and too expensive, and they're limited on their wing loading to fit in the LSA box. So the performance isn't all that spectacular for that much money. And the ride in the middle of the day isn't all that great either. And most of the time, most people are flying alone. So my creation here is a single-seat aircraft, because the cost of aircraft goes up exponentially with the number of seats. So for just having one seat, you can save $100,000. And most people are using that second seat for the phone holder. That's an expensive phone holder. So the single-seat Merlin is a cantilever marine all aluminum.
Want to sign up?
What do I sign up for?
giving away some ties, we're giving away some training, and we're giving away this bag into a crowd. And you have to be here for the bag, but you don't have to be for the belt or the training or the ties. Just let it go. Thank you. Because I probably won't be here the whole day, but have a good day.
And the takeoff. Plus with the 60 to 65 horsepower engines we're installing, the power to weight ratio is
They happy with those
high. Well, the takeoff time is about 3 seconds, and it's not even a stolen aircraft. We just put 20 degrees of flaps in and put the power on, and the acceleration is incredible. It sets it back in the seat, and it's flying so fast that you have to be quick to retract the flaps because you're climbing up at an angle like this, and you're still accelerating. And you know what? And so you're going to exceed the flap speed in another 3 seconds. Just on Tuesday, I was doing a test flight with a full fuel and 100 pounds in the baggage compartment, well overloaded, and I was at 7,000 feet in 9 minutes, and that included the taxi to the runway. So, and I climbed to 12,000 feet in under 20 minutes, and I've flown this aircraft from Florida to Oshkosh and back, and from Florida to Ohio, and it's really comfortable. It's single seat, but that single seat is bigger per person than most general aviation aircraft. It has more pilot space than a King Air. So it's quite roomy. It's really surprising when you get in how much room we have. Almost everybody fits in. And not only do you fit in, when I'm traveling cross country, I put a airline style roll-on carry-on in the back. I have my computer bag, a small toolbox, and a case of oil. And no problem with CG, no problem with the capacity of the aircraft, and no problem with the range and endurance because it's got the 3 hours of endurance. And at true airspeed, if you set the prop for just cruise, you can be cruising at 120 miles an hour. Yeah, it is. Those are real numbers. I cruise at normally because I have a prop pitch closer to flying. I'm getting 105 miles an hour in my normal cruise. But I like to have the prop set closer to climb because I like those impressive takeoffs. It's a lot of fun.
You like people referring to you as a homesick angel. That's how it learns. Now you're showing some numbers up here on the screen right now. Finished aircraft starting at 34.9. Is this a kit aircraft, a finished aircraft, both? What type of kits or finish do you sell?
Well, that's a big question, so I'll need a few minutes to answer that. It is an experimental amateur build class, but what we've done something is we've raised the bar really high on experimental. This aircraft the airframe can be built together in 3 to 4 days or so. I've been using natural technology with computer-controlled punch presses in Europe, building this port cruiser and hundreds of other aircraft that I've done. I've been doing that for decades. But that was drilled approximate size. They were punched and they were undersized, and they still have to do a lot of drilling and matching for natural technology. But now it's possible when you design the aircraft and it's ground up with 3D software and you do it properly to get the holes to be precision match holes. That means you can put the skids on the ribs and on the spar and drop the rivets in to the final size, and you can basically put this aircraft together without ever having to pick up a drill. Never drilling a hole. At most you just leave it out a little bit if the rivet is sticking. So the next thing we've done is we've actually built the airframe up to 100% and left the top skins with temporary rivets, just underneath this hole with a soft aluminum rivet. So when you get the airplane, it looks like a finished aircraft. And I've presented this to the FAA with a national kit evaluation team and spent 3 days, and we basically just took the airplane apart until we got down to 51%. And we got down to 51.01. And that's as far, you can't go into tolerance, and you can't go any closer than that. So when the customer gets his airplane, everything's there because it's not in a box, it's an airplane. When you take off when the interior is all epoxy primed, we take the top skins off, every assembly, you disassemble. So the first thing you do is not spend assembling, it's disassembling. And for example, you take a wingskin off and inspect everything inside, run your wires if you're putting some strobe lights on, put the fuel system in, check the controls and the bell cranks and bolt those in, vacuum it out, and rivet it up. And just get a $50 Harbor Freight pneumatic rivet puller and put in the permanent AVEX steel shank rivets. So you can think of the rudder, for example, from start to finish would be 20 minutes. Each aileron would be 20 minutes, the flat might be 30 minutes, and the elevator might be an hour because you have to put the trim in. So really, you could build the airframe in 3 days, perfectly legal. And then you have to put the engine on, which takes another day. And then the panel is probably more complicated, but you don't need to build the panel yourself. You can get assistance on that. That's not included in that 51%. So you can get the panel in advance, so you can have all the panel all cut and punched and labeled, so you can plug and play and just run the wires and antennas. So it's quite easily build this airplane in under 2 weeks. And that's and the airplane itself, not the kit, but the quick build kit is only $16,500. So then you have the engine and the builder assist if you want to do it in our facility with our help. And some instruments, and depending on your choices on panel and engine, you can have it finished for about $35,000. If you really want to load it up with a BRS and a 4-stroke engine and a couple of newly maps, you'd be hard pressed to break $50,000.
Let's put this in a little bit of perspective here.
That's awesome.
Out in the parking lot, I've got my Dodge Ram 2500 heavy-duty work truck with a work capper and everything else. You've got the same money in a single-place aircraft that cruises at over 100 miles an hour. You've got the same money as I've got in a pickup truck out in the parking lot, and I consider my pickup truck to be a cheap pickup truck. I mean, let's see, $35,000, $40,000 by the time I was done to get into my brand new truck. You can get into a brand new single-place airplane for that. Now you have a presence here on the grounds. You're right over here outside the tent, back up against by the media parking. So and I still haven't figured out my north, south, east, and west. But if you go out by the entrance here, just past you're the second people on it, right? So we've got the Pitless Rover is there, and then they got two straight. You're right next to CT. So that must drive them crazy because you could buy 3 or 4 of your airplanes. Oh, you need a 4-place? Well, here, just buy 4 of mine. For the same money as you're paying for one of those. But now, one of the things that really fascinates me is the next thing on your list there, electric powered, starting at $43,000. Are you? Again, it's experimental, so amateur build experimental. But tell us a little bit about your electric power version.
Well, electric power is really nice to fly with. And there's very few people in the world that have actually done it. There's a lot of people talking about it. And a lot of people making a lot of big protections and boasts and a lot of money being in, but you don't see them flying. And there's a reason for that. And this chart, electric motor gliders, because they're so clean, they work with electric, and there's lots of self-launching electric motor gliders because they just use power to get up and then turn it off. But they're expensive. Going the other way, in general aviation and even light sport, it just takes too much energy, and battery energy density just isn't there yet. You just have to carry too much batteries, and the endurance is less than a half hour. If you're very lucky, if you're in a very good system, you get a half hour. But how does that work when you're supposed to have a half hour reserve? So your endurance is basically nothing. So what really works now is a low energy aircraft. And in my case, low cost and low energy. So I'm developing the Merlin electric because it's got low frontal area, and it's clean and light, and it'll actually carry enough battery that I can fly for an hour. And that's my target. But to get there, the first step is making all the batteries and motors, and that's been a 3-year project now, and it's a moving target because of the development. So I'm finally going to get somewhere with that. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on the batteries. Well, I could, but what I want to talk about, and there's some hybrids I'm working on as well, where you have a battery and electric motor, and then a small gasoline motor as a range extender. So once you get up there, you can turn it on to charge the batteries, or actually have basically a twin engine system to spin the propeller too. But all that's next year. what the very first thing I need to do, and I'm very close to doing it now, because that is flying with an electric motor there. And the Zigolo is a very low wing loading, light, low energy aircraft, and it flies on 10 kilowatts of electric motor. So the battery pack is behind me, and I spent a lot of time on that. There's some really important considerations. Number one is making sure the batteries are safe, because it's bad enough when a phone goes out, torches off, but when you have 100 pounds of batteries torching off and it's right on the CG where your butt is, that can ruin your day. And all my airplanes come with parachutes, but is that really a safety item? If you want to come get down to the ground nice and slow and your butt's burning up? It used to be student pilots would crash and burn, and now they're going to burn and crash. So it's much more important now to not worry so much about the battery energy density getting up to 250 kilowatts per kilogram, or chasing that high energy. And that's what a lot of people are doing, because they're marketers. What's important is not to have anybody die. And that's going to really slow down everything. It's going to ruin it for everybody, especially the pilot. So I use a much more conservative composition of lithium, cobalt, nickel, and manganese. And we can drive nails through the cells and not get them to torch off. They'll short out, but they won't torch off. And the other thing is, if one does fail, make sure it doesn't propagate to the next cell and the next cell. So I've been studying that technology and choosing very carefully. And of course, we don't use any animals in our product testing. We use me. So, and what's really great about this is it's because if you remember the first slide, I showed 1980s ultralight, and every third flight was a two-stroke stopping to stroking, or reduction drag failure, or something else. There was always something. And the first thing I do is just in my genes is when I get an ultralight, I climb as high as I can, as quick as I can, and look for a place to land. And ultralights, they're not meant to go fast. You don't go anywhere. Another oxymoron is a fast ultralight. The Pugster's servant if you're going fast. So it's much better to have a big wing like this and go really slow and use a lot less energy and actually be able to go up and stay up and go up 150 feet or 200 feet and just cruise around. And go slow, and your eyes don't water, and you can talk to people on the ground, and you know the motor's going to keep going. And it's quiet, and you don't have the two-stroke sputtering and the oil mixing and the maintenance, and it's really good for everybody who doesn't want to mess with that stuff. And this is where electric power should be, and that's where we should start. And that's what I'm doing, and I've got 30 orders for this now, and I'm going to have the R&D done in the next few months and start selling it. You won't see much promotion until that happens. And then we'll have a final product that I know is safe. Then I'll put it on the market. It's getting close. And then the next thing I'm going to do, because if you remember those other slides, those big things underneath the airplane, those floats, there's nothing more fun than float flying. And there's nothing that irritates more people on the water than a two-stroke flying around, not going anywhere over their barbecue on the lake. And in the 80s, that's what happened. Ultralights don't go anywhere. They fly around the lake with their floats, and then they get banned. And that just ruins it makes more work for a Seaplane Pilot Association. Well, that's the last thing I want to do. But I like float flight. I like being on the water. These wings come off in 90 seconds. You can put it on a boat lifter to pull it up. And I've been making floats for decades. So I'm making a set of 750 floats, put it on here, and make it a quiet airplane that I can go around the lake at 150 feet or 30 miles an hour and make less noise than the fishing boats or a lawnmower.
With your flight, what kind of duration do you have on your electric flight in your e-glider you're just showing? Now, what's your flight time? You said an hour in your flight, and what about so you got an hour of flight time, and pilots know you should have a half-hour reserve, so you actually have an hour and a half, or you just figure an hour is going to kill you, and then what's your recharge time?
Well, that's another advantage of being an ultralight. We don't have any rules, but it is good to be safe, and so the target is to have an hour of the entire endurance, and then And most dawn patrols and evening flights are 30 to 40 minutes. And every time anybody goes up an ultralight, that's really all they do. So if I get 15 to 20 minutes of reserve, I'm going to meet everybody's mission to have a viable product. And if they land, they'll be able, if they want, they can, because I have some interest in that. People want to be able to fly it all weekend long. It takes 2.5 hours to charge. If they want to spend the extra few $1,000s, because that's the most expensive part is that battery cells, they'll be able to pull out the pack and put another one in. And you can put it on a solar charger as well. And just fly in the weekends and every time. That's what they do in Europe. They don't put the solar chargers on the sailplanes, they put them on the trailers. The trailers all sit out in the hangar, out on the field all week long. And the weekends, the batteries all charged, they fly.
So now right now you actually have a flying electric ultralight. That's very impressive. You're going to take it in. You've got a rescue parachute, a BRS kind of system on it. You're in your research and development. You're going to get this. And I'm very impressed that you said you're not actually selling or marketing anything until you have a working aircraft, because a lot of people go the other route. They market it, they get money, and they try to develop the aircraft, and people are out the money they put in. So I'm very impressed by that. How long do you think it's going to be before you can take the technology that you've got in your electric ultralight and move it into your aircraft?
That's scalable. So it's the exact same motor, controller, charger, the monitor, it's all the same. So it's only a matter of adding more cells for endurance. The Merlin will carry more. And so I can scale it up and then do a test flight program. So anywhere between 3 and 6 months to get it done properly. Well, there's another thing I want to do. It's a lot on my list, but make the Merlin really a good. And right now it's a fast, sporty aircraft, which requires power, which is not going to work with electric. It will, so the Merlin will work with electric, but it'll work a lot better with a bigger wing. So it'll make it into more of a sailplane, 17-meter wing, and offer that as an interchangeable wing for people who really want to stay up or even cut back their power and ride on thermals with the Merlin. But here, yeah, you can see there's an airplane in that picture. I don't know if you noticed. Yeah. And there's a close-up of the motor and another picture flying. So I'm convinced I'm not a big fan of two-strokes. I fly with one. They're much better now. I fly with one in the Zigolo. I fly with one in the 582 of the Merlin. But after living through the 80s, it's just hard to get that out of my mind and looking all for a place to land, like the nearest freeway.
So again, this is a Zigolo personal sport aircraft that you're developing that's electric powered, and we also have your other aircraft. Anything else you got? What else do you have in the works?
Oh yeah, how about ordering your airplane online, having it come Amazon Prime to your door, and pull it out of a box like an RC. You know these RC airplanes are called almost ready to fly, and they're all pre-built. Well, the Zigolo doesn't have a 51%, it's an ultralight. And the wings go together 90 seconds each. So you can actually take the airplane out of a box, put it together, and go fly. So yeah. And the RC requires a membership, registration of your drones, FAA requirement. There's a lot of regulations. Here I'm flying over Peru. I don't have a license. Well, I do, but I don't need a medical. I don't need a license. I don't need registration. I don't need a readiness certificate. It's a lot harder to fly a drone now than it is an outright.
We will go. I mean, just the aviation person in me says we have to mention that. In as much as you can order the airplane, have it sent to your house, put it together in 15 minutes and go flying. It is you don't need a medical, you don't need a license, but it is just plain wrong to think that you can get in an airplane and fly it without any training. So if you don't have any pilot training whatsoever, we do not recommend that you use the 15 minutes to fly. I smell kerosene. There's something big out there. We're going to pause a minute for a jet noise. So see, you've got it right there. Safety is your priority. There we go. So we want to make sure we stress to people that we don't want to try and buy an aircraft and put it together and fly it without any training. So back to you.
That's exactly, and that's why pilots need to be trained to fly ultralights. We learned that in the 80s, that the energy management of the airplane is completely different because they don't have any energy. So there's nothing to manage. They slow down too quick, and they don't round out at 20 feet. So you have to train pilots to fly ultralights. Now we're going to have to train pilots to manage electric power because there's so little energy compared to gasoline that they have to really know where their battery levels are and how much they have. And the question that's from a designer standpoint, you can have a safety like your Black & Decker drill. When it gets to the minimum voltage, it cuts off, so the battery's not damaged. Now, do you want to be able to do that, have that safety built into the system on the airplane? Or do you want to have the pilots have the capability to go into the red line, go over, and he just needs a little boost to clear a fence, knowing that he might damage his battery? So, there's a lot of design issues like that. I'm on the ASTM committee for electric propulsion, and we're always debating things, but that's just one of them.
It seemed to me that instead of a cutoff, you would have a bells, whistles, warnings telling you, your red lines, some big flashing display saying you're going to break your battery. So we need to wrap this up here pretty quick, but anything else you want to add? Once again, you're right out here outside the building, right along the back fence. What's your website?
It's Aeromarine LSA.com, and that's where I post. That's where I mostly write the blog, and that's from news from the hangar. Lots of stuff going on. Keep people up to speed there.
All right, well, we sure appreciate you making time to talk to us, and we're going to take a quick break while I run over and... Actually, Mike, if you want to hand me the cup, we'll go ahead and pull a drawing for one of our beautiful Captain Santa Claus red. We're going to give people a choice. They get a red or a blue Captain Santa Claus tie. Mike's over there, and my lovely assistant. Hi, Mikey. And my partner in crime, or my co-conspirator. So, let's see here. Mike shook him up once. I'll reach in here and shake him up again. Draw out a name, and the winner is Dave Shallbetter.
Probably me.
Right? We should really make sure that people write their name legibly.
Oh, it is mine.
Yeah, right. It looks like... Oh. Now, Mike, you want to read that name for me, Mike? Quack. David Allen.
Oh, it is David Allen.
Congratulations, David Allen. You have won yourself a Captain Santa Claus tie. That's, of course, everybody.
Good for Ducky.
Your Sun and Fun Radio listener, David Allen, otherwise known as Ducky. He runs our morning show at the Sun and Fun Radio during the fly-in. But we're not talking about that right now. We are here at Sport Aviation Expo. Congratulations, David Allen. I will make sure that you get your tie. I know you've already left. If you're watching out there in Facebook land, congratulations, David. And I'll reach out and find out if you want a red tie or a blue tie. So again, thank you so much for making time to chat with us. We appreciate it. Stop by and see him out here. Take a look. Talk to him about electric airplanes. If I get a chance to break away, I got some questions I want to ask you too, because I'm fascinated by electric airplanes, electric-powered vehicles of all kinds, but electric airplanes especially. All right, folks, we're going to take a break. We've got another interview coming up here in just a little bit, and we will. Actually, I see Trevor out there in the audience. So are you next up on the schedule?
Yeah, 5 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, 8 minutes ago. But hey, we get talking electric airplanes. I just lose my mind. What can I say?
Well, it's not Chip's fault. We started him late too, so it's our fault.
Well, it's my fault. So, Trevor, good morning. Good morning. Mr. Trevor Semino with Chart It All. How you doing, Bubba?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing good. Things are going to be going. We're going to go ahead and wrap up here on our Facebook Live video, and we'll bump it, and we'll start another one here shortly. But you're going to stay up here and talk with our friend like you did yesterday about learning about becoming a pilot and all the good stuff involved with. Okay. Well, let's take a quick break here, and